Hi everybody and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you're returning, thank you so much as always for being here. Today is the Minis Challenge playlist. So excited. But for now, let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting. DIY number one. So I have this wonderful Waterslide decal paper that my friends from Hippo sent me. This is clear Waterslide paper, and I went ahead and I printed out some designs from my Cricut design studio, sprayed it a few times, actually 3 times, waiting 30 minutes between each coat with that matte clear coat, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut my images out. Now you could use your Cricut to cut it out. I decided just to do it by hand, and I am dropping my first decal into my water. It's got to sit in there for 30 to 60 seconds, and so I'm just cutting out a couple of extras while that is doing its thing. I am doing a mug, as you can see, for this first project. This is just a mug that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, nothing extraordinary. And so I'm going to apply some water to my surface, and I'm going to hold onto one end of my decal and slide the paper out from under. I was so amazed with how easy this was once I got the hang of it, because I did do some other projects you'll see later on. This was probably my 3rd or 4th project, so I'd finally gotten the hang of it. I loved this one the most, so I thought I would show it to you first, and you'll hear some more about my little pitfalls later. But I thought this was so sweet. Fall, sweet fall. And keep in mind that I have this sped up by about 3 times. So I am really going gently over these little decals with my paper towel. So just take your time. Once you have them placed on where you want it, they will slide a little bit. I'm just gently dabbing them. You could see how that one was still sliding a little bit. So you can reposition them to some extent. And then I'm gently just sweeping the water out from under them, holding the decal in place in some instances, and just getting all that excess water out. Look at how sweet. I love this. It is not dishwasher safe though. You want to hand wash these, and then you can also bake them in the oven, set them up a little bit more. And my friends at Hippo have given us a 40% off coupon, which you will find in the description box. Today is the Minis Challenge. I am so excited to see all of the fantastic inspiration in the playlist. Please check out the description box when you're done with my video to watch all those other videos. And if you're interested in participating next month, it'll be Friday, September 17th, 1 p.m. and the theme will be Fall and Halloween. DIY number 2. So I have a couple of these cute little boxes with owls carved into them, burned into them, I'm not sure. There are some cutouts here also, but I thought they were super sweet, and we are going to customize them today. I am just using my Arteza paint markers. These are chalk paint markers, and I am just going to do what makes my heart happy, right? So as I always say, do what makes you happy. So you can customize these however you wish. And I am just using my Arteza paint markers because I love how you can flip out the tips on these, right? So they have reversible tips. They have just that blunt tip and then a fine tip that is allowing me to get into all those little nooks and crannies, if you will. And then they also send you a different kind of tip along with it. I don't know why I can't think of the name. It's like a slanted tip. Beveled? No. I think you probably know what I'm saying or trying to say. But it's like, my words are escaping me tonight, you guys, as I'm doing this voiceover. But at any rate, they have fantastic tips that are interchangeable on the paint markers, which make them really easy to work with. So once I had all of that done and dry, I have this yellow fabric from my stash that my mom had given me a while back, and I am cutting out some squares that will fit inside the lid of my box. So as I mentioned before, there are some cutouts, so you can see the little holes there, and I'm just going to cover it with this little yellow fabric piece that I'm using as a liner. I'm not too concerned about the edges on this one because I'm actually going to come back in a second. You can see I just used hot glue around all those edges. Just checking to make sure it's looking good on the box. But I'm going to come back in a second with another piece of fabric. So I'm going to cut this one a little bit larger than the inside of the lid because I want to kind of create a seam where I can fold all of these edges under so you don't see any of the raw edges. Now, if you have batting, like a thin piece of batting, that would work so much better than what I'm trying to do, or like a squishy foam something that you can wrap. First of all, you'd want to cut that down to size of the inside of your box and then wrap the fabric around it and then tuck it down in. See here, I am just using a little bit of polyfill because I did not have batting and I just wanted a little soft inside of my lid. I don't know if you've seen these, but I had a little jewelry box growing up and it had this nice little puffy lid on the inside of it. And I don't know. I thought I would recreate that. So that's what I'm going for here, you guys. But you certainly can skip this step. You certainly can just make nice edges and line the inside of your box, or you could leave it. You don't have to line the box, but I just thought it would be a nice little touch. And then I would have that yellow shining through for the eyes and the little feathers, and yeah, so that's what I decided to do. So there it is, and when I set it down, I noticed that this particular box lid was popping off a little bit. It wasn't as snug as the other one, so I decided to use some of this, I'm going to call it raffia. It is from a Dollar Tree hula skirt, one of those grass skirts, and I took a couple of strands and I am just tying it up a little bit like a gift. But instead of the large side of the box, I'm going to tie my little bow on the top of it so that it's got like a fun little thing going on the top. So I just tied a regular knot. I'm going to trim that off, and then I came back in with some extra strands of raffia and tied that on there too. I just decided I wanted to be a little bit more full than what I had with just those two original strands. So again, you do what makes you smile, right? So now I'm going to take all of that and I'm going to trim it off at the top so that it's all a little bit even, and we are good to go. I think this is so sweet. So I did the same thing with the lid of the other box, but on this one, I'm going to wrap it with some of my orange buffalo check ribbon, and I'm just going to tuck in that end and glue it down onto my little box. And then I'm going to make just a little loop bow just set on the top of it. So I took that little teeny tiny piece and I'm gluing down that edge just so I have it centered. I know where I want it. Making my little loop again with the other piece of ribbon. I'm going to kind of roll it there and then tuck some glue in underneath there once I have it nice and secure. And just set that down into the hot glue. So there we have it. I love these little boxes. I think they are so cute. Please give me a thumbs up if you like them too. DIY number 3. So I have a scrap piece of wood from my stash, one of the little wooden blocks. That one I think is from a pack from Hobby Lobby. They also have them at Dollar Tree that are a little bit larger. And now I am just pulling out some scrap pieces of paint sticks from my stash that I wanted in 3 different lengths. And I'm pulling out also a piece of little birch wood that I'd gotten from the from the Dollar Tree, and I had a little piece of a tumbling tower block. This is my pumpkin chalk paint by Home Decor. I'm just painting everything with my orange chalk paint. This is going to be a very minimalist set of little pumpkins, you guys. I decided I just wanted some extra little pieces that were relatively neutral, for lack of a better term, that I could include on my tiered tray. I really wanted my decals to take front and center, and so I didn't want a ton of extra little signs and things. You could certainly embellish these however you want. My mine are going to be super minimalistic. So my little paint sticks, I am doing in a stacked manner. You saw me kind of offsetting them because I want these to be able to stand up on their own. So I figured if I did all three kind of offset with each other, they would have a better chance of being able to do that. So I just used my hot glue there, and now I have this twig that I had left over from a twig broom that I had pulled apart last year, and I am just creating some extra little stems for these tall skinny pumpkins. I had cut off a nice clean edge for the edge I was going to glue down, and then I broke off the stem for the part that's going to look like it was picked out of the garden. And I did the same thing for all three of those little pumpkins, and then I just glued them down with my hot glue. And so once I had that all set, I went back to my little grass skirt and I grabbed some more of what I'm going to call raffia. I don't know, is that really raffia? I don't know. Leave me a comment and let me know if that actually is what raffia is or if it's something completely different. I'm calling it raffia, but I went ahead and just tied a sweet little bow, and I'm gonna clip off my ends, and that's it for those little guys. I did decide to come back in on my two original block pumpkins, and I'm gonna give it some greenery. So I'm just cutting down some little leaves that I had, and I'm gonna attach those there. Now, I decided they really weren't the right shape, and I wanted to make them look a little bit more like they belonged on a pumpkin. So I went ahead and cut them the way that I wanted them. Would be much easier to do this before you glue them on, just saying, and live and learn. That's what I did for the next little pumpkin. So I cut it into the shape that I wanted, and then I went ahead and glued it down. So this is some wired twine from the Dollar Tree that I had left over in my stash. I'm just gluing with a teeny little bit of hot glue to each of the ends so that it doesn't unravel. And then once I had all my little strands done, I'm using a little dowel, wrapping them around the dowel, loosening it up a teeny little bit to make it look the way that I want it. And then I'm gluing down my little squigglies for my little pumpkins. And I did the same thing for the other one. And this doesn't have to be perfect. It can be like random with the way that the squiggles are, because if you think about it in nature, it's going to be extremely random and they're going to stick in different directions and do their own things. So again, whatever makes you happy. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Great job, Wendy. These are beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And really pretty Valerie. I'm in love with all of her haunted houses, and all of these others are so cute and so nice. Charlene, thank you for sharing your project with us. And great Gabby, all of her little apothecary jars for Halloween. And lovely Leslie, she created a recipe stand for her kitchen. So nice. I would love to give you a shout out too. If you have interest, please send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. Okay, so I have another set of decals. I did cut these all down in different pieces because I'm going to be putting them on a stemless glass, wine glass, and I thought they would probably adhere better without wrinkling because of the way that the glass is shaped. Now, I am including this to show you my faux pas. This was the very first time I tried to use the water slides, you guys. So I'm showing you this to show you that it really is not difficult. This was the first time I ever tried. Definitely had some operator error here though, right? So one thing I will say, because this is a clear decal paper, it's translucent, so you can kind of see through my letters there. So if you want something that's nice and solid, you would definitely want to go for a white paper. But if you like the look of having it be translucent, then this is definitely it. I will say that you can see on the clear glass some of the clear material around the words. So just keep that in mind. Now, being that it was my first time doing this, I wasn't thinking about the fact that I probably shouldn't be using the same cloth that I used to clean the glass with rubbing alcohol. It was starting to break down my picture. So don't use rubbing alcohol on the actual image. Probably should have occurred to me before I started this project. Again, operator error. So the other thing I realized was that I left my little ghosts in the water way too long. 30 to 60 seconds is all you need. They were probably in there for a couple of minutes. And as a result, they started to separate from the backing paper and they started folding over on themselves. Total operator error. I messed this up. Had I just waited until I was ready to use them and dropped them in the water for the 30 seconds, I would have been okay. Now, I finally gave up on it. I couldn't get them unfolded. This is definitely a fail, but I wanted to leave it in to show you how it would work on a regular glass. So it definitely works. Just do as I say, not as I do. But so then I went ahead and moved on. This was my second attempt, and this one came out so sweet. I love it. I think it looks store-bought. You know, not to toot my own horn. I was so impressed with how this decal worked. So this is just a little ceramic sign from the Dollar Tree. I cleaned it up, used rubbing alcohol. Now I'm using a clean paper towel to dab out all of the water after I had slid it on the way that you've seen me do on the other projects. And just very gently sweeping the water out from under it. Now, keep in mind again, this is sped up 3 times. I am being very gentle here. You can this is how gentle I was being because this is real time now. But look at how nice that came out. And you don't really notice the clear material around the outside of the image on the white background. So really, really like this a lot. I'm coming in with some of my Dollar Tree ribbon because I decided it just needed a little bit something extra. And I've got my grass skirt again, and I'm just tying a few strands of that in with my ribbon to create a cute little, I can't really call it a bow, it's a knot, but it's gonna serve as my little bow. I'm just gonna trim everything down and get it looking the way I wanted it. And then once I did have it all trimmed down here, I'm still trimming away, I decided it needed a little bit something more. I wanted more of that raffia. I'm still calling it raffia, you guys. I don't know if that's what it is or not. But so I cut down a few extra strands. I literally just twisted it there. I did not create another knot. And this was after playing with it a lot. I was trying to tie it with my little knot. It wasn't working out, right? So I messed with it for a while. It finally settled on twisting it and just gluing it down and then adding my little knot / bow. And there you have it. DIY number 5. So for this project, I have a piece of wood from a bag of wood pieces from the Dollar Tree and my white Adirondack home decor chalk paint. I'm just gonna give this one really good coat of paint. When it's dry, I'm coming in with some more decals. Now, the reason I keep showing you all of these different decal projects, I wanted to try these out on various types of I want to say medium. So I did it on ceramic, I did it on a glass, and now I'm doing it on painted wood. Now, I did not know how it was going to work with the water on the chalk paint. So that is just something to keep in mind. I did not anticipate it going on as slick, and I was really not sure how the chalk paint was going to interact with the water. So it worked fine, but I would say that with this particular decal, I ended up having it look a little bit more rustic and distressed, which I was really okay with because we do a lot of farmhouse stuff on this channel, right? So it actually turned out pretty sweet. So that second decal, you can see probably because I put down a little bit extra water. I was a little hesitant when I put down our little squirrel, but when I saw that the chalk paint wasn't like bleeding or any of that, I put down a little bit of extra water on that second decal, and that worked a little bit better and didn't distress as much. But just know you can distress it if you'd like to, which I thought was kind of cool. So once I had everything completely dry, I came back in with my baker's twine in yellow. This is from the Dollar Tree. And I just wrapped it around both sides, probably about 10 or 12 times. And then I just tied it off in the back and tucked my little tails under. So I did that on this side, and then I went ahead and I did it on the other side. And I'm sorry if you can hear little chains rattling. That is Sammy running around doing his thing. I don't know. So if you can hear that in the background, I apologize. But then I went ahead and pulled out some little wood beads from my stash. I am gluing them onto the back of my little sign because I wanted it to be able to stand up by itself. And I just left them natural. You can certainly paint them. I chose not to. I thought that they would be just as pretty, just left the way that they were. And that's it. And here we are with the final reveal. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the projects, please give me a big thumbs up and leave me a comment because it really does help me to get noticed on YouTube and helps my channel to grow. Don't forget, there is a whole playlist full of wonderful inspiration. You can find the link to the playlist in my description box. And until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.